we're going to be doing this week on task 2 is we're going to be checking to see whether, as for instance, all of the letters are only letters in a given form. And in the task it's last name, but it's basically the same item for last name and first name. Here I just have name. In age, it wants to check for two things. It wants to check that the length is only 3 digits, and it wants to check to see if it's only digits. Now in my example here, I'm only going to check to see whether it's only letters, or in the case of age, only digits, but I'm not going to convert the age to an actual number. In fact, the assignment in task 2 does not ask you to convert it to a number, and I am not going to check here to see how long the length is for the age. All you have to do to do that is to pull it in and then say use the dot length method to check for the length of the string that comes in originally, because remember, these are text boxes, so even though we type in digits here for the age, it's still text until we would convert it to a number. So all of the operations that we're going to do here are basically based on just dealing with text. Okay, and on the age, we're checking for digits to be typed in to the text box, and for the name, we're going to be checking for letters to be typed in on the text box. Now, I've done this actually a couple of different ways. I've commented this one out. It is basically the same as age, only I check to see whether the characters are all letters. And I do this this way, but there are a variety of different ways. Some of the more advanced of you will probably know about the regex, which is short for regular expressions, and you can do that way, and that's fine. But for this, I just want to keep it very simple so that some of you can grasp this particular concept. I've declared a particular variable in this particular item where I have, well, first I should say, in this particular box, this box is txt name, and I create a variable called strname so that I can pull that out of there and put it into the variable, because I tend to not work directly with things on a given form. I pull them out, put them into variables, and deal with them, and then if I need to change things in a particular variable or a particular component on the form, I can do that later. Okay, so I start here by saying if not, that's what the exclamation point is. Sometimes we call it a bang. If not strname.all, and that means that we're checking all of the characters. Character is letter, okay, and that is a check for the character type is letter, and it checks all of the characters, that's what the all means, in the string. Okay, and if they're not all letters, then I'm showing a message here which simply says result false, and then what I do here is I say string name equals string name dot trim end, and what I'm doing there is I'm going to grab the last character that was typed and remove it. Okay, so string name dot length minus 1, which is to say take the length, subtract 1, and that says grab all of the characters except that last one and trim that last character off of the end of this, and then assign it back into string name, and then put string name into the text box. Now what that functionally does is this. Let me compile here. Now, okay, so if I start typing various different letters, and I say J, E, F, F, and then I decide to type in a number, it immediately gives me the error message, and I could put anything in here, but I'm just showing that it's going to say result is false. And then when I click the message, watch up here where the name is, and you'll notice it takes off the 5. Okay, so that way we can go back up there and type some more characters. The other thing that you'll notice is that if I go to the middle of this particular string and try to insert a number, it immediately goes and says, now wait a minute, you can't go sneaking that in there. However, it does have the side effect of taking the Y off of the end of it, and it'll keep doing that until I get rid of the number. Okay, so but it does go through and essentially validate. Now, the other way of doing this is using the buttons to do the validation, and I have the setup for the digits, and I didn't check for length. Okay, so if I click this, it's going to say result is true, meaning that it is a valid number because I didn't check for length here. Now you can check for length simply by checking the string length to see that it's 3 characters. That's a completely separate thing, but it's not a big deal. Now, if I try to add a character onto the end of this and I use the button process, then it's going to change the result to false, and I'll have to go up here and take that off, and then when I click it again, the result is true. Now you can do these either way, but just keep that in mind that if I do it this way, I'm doing text changed, and in order to do that, I would have to go to the form and double click the box in order to get text changed. If I use the button, then I don't do anything with these. I am going to take out this one for a second so that you can see. Now I originally had written this up for the button method, and so it is in here just for that particular purpose. And so you can see these two are very similar. The difference is that instead of checking for letters, I am checking for digits. Okay, so we just simply say string dot all, whatever the string is, in this case string age dot all, and then character dot is digit. The case of this is digit is important, so notice that it is capital I-S, capital D-I-G-T, because if you do it wrong, it's going to tell you that there's something wrong, isn't defined, etc., etc. It's just a matter of getting the right case. Okay, and so I've done it this way, and now it's tied to the button rather than what I'm typing actively. So I can type whatever letters in here. I can type a number in the middle, etc., like this, and it's not going to notice it until I click validate, and then of course it says false, and I would have to realize, oh, that means that there's a digit in here somewhere. Take it out, click validate, and the result changes to true. And I can do whatever I need to do if it's true, or whatever I need to do if it's false. The same is true with age. Type in a validated age, and it's true if there's no letters in it, but if I put in a letter, then it changes to false. Okay, so I'm going to leave this up just for a moment so that hopefully you can see it in the video, and then if you have questions about this, then feel free to ask. I don't think that most people will have too many problems with this. The main problem that you might have with it is simply the idea of using this new item of all, and then choosing whether you want to use digit or letter or whatever is appropriate for that particular stances. I'm going to add on to these just for a second here. All, not all letters. Let's put that in as the message. And the same thing down here. All digits. And not all digits. Okay, so when these boxes come up, it's not just true or false. They will give you a message that's a little bit more explanatory. So for instance, when it comes up and I type in A, B, C, and then put a character in the end and then say validate name, false, not all letters. Okay, fine. Click that. Back that off. Validate. Say true, all letters. And that makes perfect sense. And then 1, 2, 3. And a letter tucked on the end of it. And then again, not all digits. Go back here. Validate it again. All digits. Okay, so we can see that's what's going on here. Okay, so we're leaving this up again for a little while, and if this particular recording works, then I'm going to publish it to YouTube, and then you'll get a link in the announcement and in the forum. I think I'll put both places, and you'll be able to go to there, and hopefully that way we have a decent recording system that will work a little bit better. I've been working with a new particular video recording piece of software, and I can do a little bit more. I have a little bit more flexibility with it, so that should prove a little bit easier for me. I have a little bit of editing capability, I have a little bit of recording capability, and the ability to publish to YouTube makes it much harder, or much easier, I'm sorry, with that capability. Okay, so one thing I should warn you about, I should have probably warned you about, but anytime that we're doing this in the future, if the YouTube volume level is, well, I should say, when you first start YouTube, the volume level is set to the maximum, and one of the things I noticed when I was doing a test was that it was extremely loud initially, so keep that in mind for the future.